Wendy Dunaway, CC here for a while, almost too long. If any of you are here, I think I see a few faces that were here during my self-defense training. I don't remember when we did that a while back. We talked about, you know, what to do if you're in a situation you need to extricate yourself from it safely. But now we're going to get to the point where you're in a situation you can't necessarily extricate yourself, or you need to try and de-escalate it in order to take care of yourself, to extricate safely, extricate somebody else safely, take care of the patient, whatever it is. De-escalation only happens once you've already hit an escalation point. This usually happens once somebody is in the anger mode. Not just frustrated. Everybody knows here there's a line between being frustrated and being angry. They're frustrated, they're just kind of bitching, but they're compliant. Once they hit the point where they're angry, they're not necessarily always compliant again. All right? And we have to learn what those points are and how to deal with them. And hopefully, once they've already hit those points, this training is all about. Once they've hit the anger and the violence points, what to do then. Because what you're dealing with then is no longer logical, no longer compliant. Now you're dealing with different things, and you have to change your mode of how you deal with these people. Some people are good at it naturally, some people have to work at it, some people never get good at it. Know your team, know who you are, know what your own capabilities are. All right, if you know you're not good at talking a patient down, back off and let your partner do it, okay? First, what is de-escalation? What's escalation? It means to decrease the scope or the intensity, all right? So what we're doing is we're decreasing the emotion, basically. That's what anger and rage are. They're all emotion. Some of them are pre-calculated, some of them are just reactionary. Depends on what the person wants and what they're doing and what's going on around them. The biggest thing is try not to make it worse. That's kind of the whole thing with EMS. What is our whole thing with EMS? Not like doctors. Doctors are do no harm. EMS, do no additional harm. We're just trying not to make it worse. That's all we're trying to do. If you can make it better, great. Don't make it worse. Don't make it worse. Your words, your posture, your actions, they can all make it worse depending upon what's going on. You have to be in very 100% control of yourself and as much of the situation around you as you possibly can. You're not gonna relieve, at least not in this case. Usually the underlying emotion, they're mad about something. Something is wrong. They're not being heard, they're scared, whatever it is. You're not gonna completely erase that, but you can bring the energy down, okay? And that's what we're looking for. Conflict communication. When you can do this, when the person is communicating with you and you have a fruitful communication, that's when it works. We can work with this. But once they hit crisis communication, we're done. This is way beyond us, way beyond us. And you have to learn through practice and through interacting with other people what those lines are. I'm going to repeat this part over and over and over again through the training. Listen to your gut, okay? If your gut is telling you, I'm done, this person's not listening, and we're not safe, the second your gut clenches up and you say you're not safe, get out. In whatever way you can, get out, okay? Listen to your gut. It's there for a reason, okay? Keys for preparing. Pretty simple. It's the same way of preparing to go on scene, really. Have a plan. Practice your self-control, because if you're not in control, you will never control the situation, ever. It's a hard one, and you have to work at it. Some people can do it naturally, once again, but for most people have to work at it. Teamwork, work with your team members. Know who it is. Your team members are not necessarily whoever's on your crew. Team members can be police, team members can be bystanders, team members can be family. Whoever's around you that you can pull into this to help work with this, as long as they are controllable. If they're not controllable either, how many times we walk onto the scene and the family's just as upset as the patient is? Now you have multiple people. I forgot to add to this. I love questions. Don't let me just sit here and talk. I get tired of that. But with as many people as we have, try not to do too many stories until we get to the end. Although EMS is what we do stories, we learn from them. It's great. But any questions, any interjections, please don't listen to me sit up here and talk, because I get really boring. Know your limits, like I said. Know what you can do. Know what you're good at, what you're not good at. Listen to your gut. Debriefing seems kind of counterintuitive, but debriefing after a situation helps you train and prepare for the next situation. Because how many situations have anybody who's been in EMS for more than a year, you've been in more than one situation where you could have used this. All right? Debrief it. And debriefing is not like the critical stress incidents that we have. Debriefing is just go up to your partner. What happened? What did I do right? What did you do right? What did we do wrong? What could we have done better? What could we have done, what could have made it worse? Always go through the what if scenarios if you can during your debriefing. What if scenarios are great. All right, they walk you through all of that, make you start thinking about it. Stages of escalation. There's 3 of them. 2 of them we can deal with. Oh, okay. Sorry. Anger, rage, violence. We can deal with anger. Most of us can deal with rage. Depends upon the type of rage we're going to go through. There's a lot of different types of rage. Until I had done de-escalation training myself a handful of years ago, I didn't realize there were so many different levels of rage. And there are. And they're all different. Some we can work with, some we can't. Violence, once they hit violence, we're done. We're done. We need to find a safe way to extricate ourselves and whoever else might be in danger in that situation. Because once it hits the violent stage, that's for the cops or whoever else is alongside. That's not us anymore. I don't care if you're a cop in a second life. That's not your job on this job. All right, everything in pink. Anger. Because anger is not quite up there. Anger you can still work with. Anger has emotion, but anger also still has a little bit of logic. You can work with anger. You can work with anger. Sooner you address it, the better. Everybody knows anger snowballs. You get in this vicious cycle and anger will snowball. It gets worse and it gets worse. Focus on what the person is doing. Not what they're saying, what they're doing. Because remember, they're starting to lose their logic. They're starting now, when they're in an anger mode, they're starting to run an emotion. They're not necessarily running on logic. You can still use logic with them, but they're not using it themselves very well. Okay? So focus on what they're doing. If they're walking back and forth going, yeah, I'm calm. Yep, I'm calm. No, they're not. Because they're pacing back and forth. They're doing things. Some people have a tick when they're calm. My brother does this when he's angry. He does that, you need to leave. Because it escalates very quickly to rage. He has issues, but that's the other way. People reciprocate what they receive. If you are calm, you are in control, and they're only in the anger stage, a lot of times they're going to reciprocate that. They're going to be, okay, you're going to work with me. The one thing to really remember when people are angry, before they reach the rage point, when they're angry, they want to be heard. People want to be listened to. Something has made them angry because they feel like they're not being listened to and people are not doing what they think they should be doing. Listen to them. Silence is golden when somebody's angry. Just sit and listen. Keep your questions short. Keep them simple. Try to distract them if you can. We'll go through a couple of things here that you can do, but listen. Just listen to them. If you listen to them, you're going to de-escalate just by sitting there and being quiet. Make eye contact, but don't hold it. Make eye contact, lets me know I'm listening to you, but then kind of look off, but you're still listening. Look down at your clipboard, write notes. Be active listeners. Show that you're listening. Lower pitch, volume of voice. I'm not very good at that one. I have a voice that carries, and I'm not very good at keeping my voice low. I know that about myself. So if somebody wants somebody to be much quieter, I need to go with my partner, not Joe. Evenly, don't placate, don't patronize. Oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Don't do that. That's going to escalate because then they feel like you're not listening to them. You're just going to be patronizing them until you can get them to do what they want. That's not what they want. You're going to make it worse. Be in control of yourself, calm, cool, in control. Team effort, congruency. When we're in anger, when we're dealing with somebody who's in anger mode, you want congruency. And what congruency means is you're all working together. The one thing, I was given this tip by an EMS instructor of mine a handful of years ago, and it's probably one of the absolute best tips he ever gave me, because we deal with a lot of different kinds of people. People that come in our ambulance, you don't necessarily like them. You may not necessarily agree with them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you care. It doesn't matter if you want to care. What matters is they think you care. That's what matters. Okay? So you have to be an actor. And being an actor means everybody works together towards the same goal. It doesn't mean you have to believe in that goal. It means you have to get them to believe that you believe in that goal. You need to work together. Congruency is really super important. Everything is inclusive when it comes to the congruency, the anger. What can we do to make this better? Not what can I do, not what can you do. What can we do to make this better? How can we work together? Well, let's go sit down. Let us go sit down. Words are important. Words are super important. Clarify your message. This is something we learn all the time when we go through our training. Everybody just went through all their training for ACLS, BLS, all that, right? What do you learn in the videos? Closed loop communication, right? Repeat back to them what they said so they know you were actually listening. Or repeat back something and say, I'm confused. You said you were angry, but you were angry about a phone call? Can you explain that to me? Okay? Make sure that you're repeating back their words to them so they know what it is. All right? Be very, very careful. I don't have very many partners I have a problem with this, but I've had a couple throughout the years. One person at a time. One person at a time speaks to the patient. You can go back and forth and you can and kind of tag team them, but one person at a time. If you're both talking to them, you're going to confuse them, you're going to frustrate them, and you're going to escalate rather than de-escalate. Sitting, everybody on the same level. Everybody on the same level. What's one of the things they tell you when you're with a kid, right? When you're with a kid and the kid is upset, you get down. So what are we going to do today, right? You get down on their level. If you can get everybody to sit on the same level, everybody's on the same playing field. If I'm standing up and I'm talking down to you, they're going to feel patronized. They're going to feel like somebody's commanding them, even if you're not. Get on the same level with them. Congruency doesn't mean you're agreeing or conceding. Remember, I said that. It doesn't mean that you agree with it. It doesn't mean that you're making concessions to it. It means you're trying to work together to get to the same common goal, which is to help that person, or to extricate yourself, or whatever it is. Everybody's working together. Questions. Like I said, words are important. The questions you want to use are the open-ended questions. So you've got the words highlighted at the beginning. How, will, what. When you ask questions that start with those words, it encourages the person to answer you with more than a yes or no. You don't want yes or no answers. You want them to talk. Talking takes energy. Thinking about what you're talking about takes energy. You're taking the energy into that action rather than them being angry. If you let them sit and just say yes, now they have time to stew, and that energy escalates into anger. You get them to talk about it. Get them to talk about it. Short, simple questions. Inclusive questions, but short, simple. Don't use the questions like can or do. Those are yes or no answers, and they're not going to help. Work from their perspective. I gave a couple of questions here. Work from their perspective. One of the things you need to avoid, especially with somebody who's angry, remember, logic's not working here, okay? So you have to work on an emotional level with them. So do not say, I understand. It's the hardest thing in the world. Trust me, I say it all the time with my patients. It's the hardest thing in the world to not say that when you're trying to de-escalate. Because you want to say that. You want to say, I understand. Don't do it. It seems patronizing when the person's angry. Only when they're angry. Remember, it's not a logical thing. So think of how I feel. Wouldn't you be upset too? Sure, I would be angry too if someone ignored me. You're on their same level, you're understanding their perspective, but you're not saying, I understand, because they're going to go, no you don't. You didn't have this exact circumstance happen. So I would be angry too. Choices. When you're dealing with somebody on an emotional level, if you haven't known, there's just kind of a theme here. Anyone who's a parent, there's kind of a theme here going through. When you're dealing with somebody on an emotional level, it's like dealing with a child. All of the things that you're doing are like dealing with a child. Okay, a child is throwing a temper tantrum, but this could be a possibly dangerous child, so we don't want them throwing a real temper tantrum, right? So limit their choices. Try to give them 2, but depending upon what the circumstances, don't give them 20 ones. Don't sit there and list off 20 different options. Give them a couple. Well, can we sit down here, or do you want to go into the ambulance and sit and talk to me? Things like that. Avoid or else. We don't want punitive. We don't want punishment. That will escalate. You don't want to escalate. You're trying to de-escalate. So you want things like let's work together. Don't make it punishment. Don't lie to them. Don't lie to them. Even if you think you can get away with it, don't lie to them. Because if they catch you out on it, you've lost them, and now you are no longer good to that situation. Now somebody else has to come in. Distraction. I love distraction. I love distraction. We used to have a patient that we used to go up to Fond du Lac all the time, take to dialysis. She started out angry. She was always angry. She was always angry. And depending upon who was on the crew, she was even angrier. Okay? But once you learned about her, you learned that there were 2 or 3 things that she was really passionate about. And those 2 or 3 things would absolutely, completely distract her. She wanted to know about gas prices, and she wanted to know about sports. I never knew anything about sports. I couldn't help that. but I knew about gas prices. So when I knew I was going up there to do her transport, I would check all the gas prices the entire way there. Within 5 minutes of having her, she was calm and talking to me about gas choices, about gas prices. Okay? Distraction is great. If you see anything, if you're picking this person up at a home or out of their car, pay attention to what's going on around and look in their car. Do they have pictures of kids? Do they have pictures of their dogs? Do they have dog stuff in there? Like my car is completely filthy full of dog stuff. So if you were to pick me up and I'm angry, you start talking about dogs. You know, start talking about kids, start talking about sports. Try to bring in distractionary, and you will know within a few seconds. You bring up, hey, did you see the Brewers play last night? I don't care about the Brewers. Okay, change topic. You know, sometimes you don't know, and you have to kind of try things. Overused words, shock energy. This one's great. I love this one. One of the most common words to overuse for somebody is their name. Works great. It works great. Emily, how are you doing? You doing really good today, Emily? I'm hoping that things are really going well with your family, Emily. Keep using it. You use the same words over and over and over again. The name works great because it catches, whenever you hear your own name, you're out in public and you hear somebody yell your name, you look, right?
Yeah, the problem with having the name Emily.
Understandable. But what it does is it gets their attention. So you use it over and over and over again. If you find out that they like a certain thing, they like the Brewers, start talking about the Brewers and use the word Brewers in every single sentence. It gets their attention. And once their attention is focused on that, and that word that you're using, the attention is not focused on their anger. So instead of putting in, the difference between this, remember there was a statement I had in there before, if I called my doctor and they didn't answer, I would be upset. You're putting yourself in that situation, but you're not doing the exact same thing. This is a self-revelation. I called my lab doctor last week and I got the same thing. That's different, okay? And they're now going to see that as a competition. Remember, emotion, not logic. Logically, that doesn't make sense. In an emotional sense, they're going to see that as competition. They're already in a heightened emotional sense. So don't put yourself at their place. Put yourself from their perspective. It's a different way of doing it. Closed loop communication. I hear that you're angry. You said you were angry. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about that. Inclusive. From their perspective. And most important for any of this, read the room. Read the room. Just like comedy, anything else, you need to read the room. You're not going to be telling off-color jokes if the person is an older person. They usually take offense to that. They don't like that. If you need to disengage, there's lots of ways you can disengage without making them angry. Okay, you told me that you're angry because your doctor didn't want to call you back. Okay, I'm going to go call the hospital and I'll come back and I'll talk to you. You have not extricated yourself from the position. It's the only time it's great to be caught out in a lie. If you need to extricate yourself because you're getting an uneasy feeling and you don't feel safe anymore, lie your ass off. Lie like you're the third monkey trying to get into the ark and it's starting to rain. You need to get in there. Or you can just say, hey, wait a minute. I can't do that for you, but maybe the hospital can. Let me go call them. My phone is out in the ambulance. Exit stage left. Example conversation. This is actually one, not word for word because my memory really sucks, but this is a conversation that I had with an actual patient. And they were upset, and that's why I keep bringing it up, the hospital doctor didn't call me back. The patient was upset. They were taking some blood pressure medications. They were starting to feel dizzy. They called into the doctor's office. The doctor didn't call them back within, I can't remember, it was like 6 hours or something. They never called them back. And so they were very, very upset. They didn't know what they were supposed to do. And this is what it went through. And you need to, once again, watch your words. Be careful with your words because words are important. This situation didn't escalate further. I never really got her quite calm, but I got her calm enough to meet congruency with me. We got her on the ambulance and got her into the hospital. And she was hypertensive and it was an emergency. She did need to go. However, she was really, really angry still because her doctor hadn't called me back. She didn't want to go to the ER. So sometimes, like I said, you're not going to ever really remove the underlying emotion. But what you can do is you can get them to work with you. Make peace. Be Switzerland. You know, you're just trying to get them to get along with you. Everybody wants to get along and do the same things. Don't be authoritative. Don't be punitive. You know, we're not giving punishments. That's not our job, and it is going to make it worse. Cops, they can give punishments. We can't. We will come to this later. There are situations when a person is in actually a rage where you want to be authoritative. But if they're not in a rage, if they're simply just angry and they still have some logic and you're still able to work with them, don't. This is where the practice comes in, thinking about things beforehand. How can I do this? Make non-threatening requests. It's same as a distractionary technique. I understand. See, I can't stop the understanding. You're angry. I hear that you're angry. I think your blood pressure's up. Your face is really red. Can I take your blood pressure? Distractionary. Okay? It gets your stuff done. You get to figure out certain things. You get to do your job and hopefully not get punched.
That's a good goal.
You know, make simple things. Reasonable limits and goals. You're conceding, you're making peace, then make them reasonable. Don't promise in the sky. Don't say, I'm going to get your doctor to call you back. You can't do that. You don't have the authority to do that. But what you can say is, I will tell the hospital staff when we get there that your doctor didn't call you back and you really want some feedback from your doctor. That's what I can do, and that's a reasonable expectation. Rage. There are some of these rage stages of rage I like to work with because they're very challenging. There's other stages of rage you need to run the other direction. Do not interact with them, and you'll find out pretty quick. Those are the stages. We're going to run through all of them fairly quickly. If we get a chance to, we'll do some role playing at the end, and we're going to just kind of randomly pick one of these and get one person to be the mediator and one person to get to be We'll do rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. All right, chaotic rage. This is a hard one. Most of the times, not always, but most of the time, chaotic rage has to do with some type of mental disorder. Okay, so these ones are difficult. Bipolar person in a manic stage. Okay, they went off their meds, they're in a manic stage. There's not a lot you're going to be able to do with them because it's a medication thing. They need their medication. But you still need to try to de-escalate. You need to try to get them to lower their emotion just enough you can work with them. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. You're going to know. Okay? There will be changes. There will be physical changes. There'll be an entire presentation change when a person goes from being able to work with them to not being able to work with them, even when they have mental illnesses. You can see it, you can watch it, but you got to know what you're looking for. Okay? Triggers for the chaotic rage. The chaotic rage is something like, anyone here have like a younger sibling that you always are fighting with and you hold their forehead, you know, and they're not like this? Okay, that's a chaotic rage. It's in a pediatric sense, but that's a chaotic rage because they can't control themselves and they're not thinking there is zero logic anymore, but you're older, you're in control, you got your hand in their forehead, go ahead, you know. And that's the kind of thing, it's an uncoordinated attack, there's no logic to it, but it's also, for the most part, not near as dangerous because it is chaotic. So therefore, it's pretty easy to avoid, even if they do come at you, pretty easy, because they can't put things together. Okay, it's like you took a puzzle and you just threw it on the floor and go, okay, pick what you're gonna do, you know. Calm, reassuring, try not to touch them. Remember, what started this, most likely, is an overstimulation of some kind. If they're overstimulated, you don't want to add to that. Calm, quiet, don't touch, no touchy bad lumber, okay? Simple, short, simple sentences. Scary, right? You don't want to use anything long because they're not there, they're not thinking there, their brain is completely disorganized mess. So if you give them a really long sentence and talk to them about, you know, give them a paragraph, they're not going to listen, they're not going to get it. Short, simple. Fearful rage. Once again, this usually has to do with either chemically induced or mental illness. Lots of rages have to, once people hit the rage stage, it is usually chemically induced or mental illness induced. Not always, but it can be. It's also behavior based. We'll reach a couple of those. It can be behavior based as well. This one, schizophrenia is a really big one that falls under this, okay? And this is the one where you kind of have to lie to them, but you gotta be careful how you lie to them, okay? You don't wanna lie to them to the point where you're escalating their fear. You wanna lie to them to a point where you're trying to at least let them know somebody else knows what's going on. I had one gal that was seeing spiders come out of the walls, all the walls, every single wall, okay? All right, where are the spiders coming from? Can you show me? What kind of spiders are they? Play into their paranoia. If they're having hallucinations, you have to switch into it. They're gonna be either, or they may switch back and forth, fight or flight. This is what they're gonna do. If they're in flight mode, they're a little easier to handle. If they're in fight mode, they're not. But they're gonna switch back and forth. And a lot of how you react to it is gonna be how often they switch back and forth. Not all of it, once again, it's a mental illness or chemically induced. Somebody's on LSD, very, very easy to go into a fearful rage. Goals, you wanna isolate them. Get them away from everybody and everything else. If you can get them into the rig, great. If you can get them into a single room, great. You need to isolate them because overstimulation will make it worse. It isn't caused by overstimulation, but overstimulation will make it worse. You need quiet, calm. If you are scared this person's gonna flip-flop back and forth between fight and flight, get a cop behind you. But say, stay there and only come in when I need you. I need you calm, okay? Not all cops know how to stay calm. They get in a situation where it's up and the energy goes up too. We do the same thing. Our energy goes up too. We need to be in control. Hot rage fury. I love this one. I love this one. I had an ex-husband that did this all the time. This is a behavior-based one, okay? This is one where somebody has learned that if they behave a certain way, they're gonna get a certain reaction. Now, depending upon what it is, it can be, I want someone to leave me alone, okay? They've learned, if I yell loud enough, if I start throwing things, people are gonna leave me alone, and that's what I want, okay? If I threaten you, and come at you like this, I don't mean to come at you and hurt you, but I'm gonna threaten you with a knife, a gun, baseball bat, whatever it is, because I've learned that that kind of behavior makes people leave me alone and get out of my face. Or I get what I want. I want this. I want another drink. Drunks are famous for this one. This is a famous one for drunks. It's not the only one. There's another one in here that's actually better for drunks. But it is one of those. This one, easy, very easy to get in a cycle. Super, super easy to get in a cycle where this just starts ramping up. And the cycle for this one is really small, really short, doesn't take much. All it takes is, hey, how you doing? I don't like your attitude. You've already escalated it, okay? Read the room, listen to your gut. Be in control, okay? Because they want something. So you need to be in control and you need to know what to give them within reason to make them back to logical. Okay? The goal with rage is not to get rid of all of that feeling. The goal is to reduce their rage to anger. Rage has zero logic. Anger has a little bit of logic. All you're trying to do is reduce it enough you can work with them. Masculine aggression. You know, how many guys have we seen go and have, 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 drinks and they're now 10 feet tall and bulletproof? You know. Never happened to you, no. They also like to destroy things. That's the whole masculine aggression. They love to throw things, so be careful for flying objects.
Get ready with that.
Don't feed into the aggression. Do not feed into aggression. Like I said, it's a small cycle. Don't feed into it. Ladder technique works really great with these people. This is a technique you have to practice. Whether you practice it in your head, you practice it with other people. Not quite, Joe. Almost. What you do is, usually these people are doing several things at once that could be deemed dangerous. They are yelling, they are throwing things, they're encroaching on your space, they're coming into your bubble, okay? They're gonna do numerous things. You need to quickly pick which one you think is the absolute most dangerous. What is the most dangerous thing that person is doing? That person has a knife in their hand. That, to me, is the most dangerous thing they're doing right now, okay? I'm gonna need you to put the knife down. And you keep repeating it no matter what tangent they go off on. You stay focused on, I need you to put the knife down. I need you to put the knife down. That is step 1 on the ladder. When you can finally get them to comply with that, they put the knife down. What's the next one? What is the next one? You are too close to me. I don't want you this close to me. You're making me uncomfortable. I need you to back up. Okay, this is my space, you keep your space. And you keep working on it, keep repeating on it, and you're firm. You're not authoritative, but you're firm. This is my boundary, this is my rule, this needs to happen. That's step 2. And you just keep working your way up the ladder. It could be 1 step, it could be 5 steps. So you keep working your way up the ladder until they're at a point you now can work with them. Because each step you get them to comply with what you're doing is one more step towards them not being in a rage, and now they're being angry. You can work with angry, you can't work with rage. Don't shout. Please don't shout. There's only one type of person that you can actually shout with, and it actually has to do with a psychosis, and that's very specific. I did not include that here because that's more for people who work in like psych wards and stuff, and it's a very specific type of psychosis rage that shouting actually works. It's contrary to everything else. Stay out of range. See, they're going to throw things. Stay out of range. Tripwire. This is where exactly. This is where your gut instinct, your partner taps you on the shoulder, something sets off to go. They have now gone from rage to violence. That's the tripwire. Something set them off. Whatever you were doing wasn't working. It's not always going to work. What the techniques that you use and that you are comfortable with are not always going to work. And you're going to have some patients that hit that tripwire. And when they do, you need to figure out and you need to know in advance how to get out of there. One of the things we talked about in the last training that I did is always know where your exits are. Always know where your exits are. Do not let anybody in between you and your exits. And I know cops get this training. I know they do. However, I have lots of cops that arrive on scene with me, come in the door, and stand here. Sir, could you please move? Just move off to the side a little bit, make sure that my doorway is free, okay? Always know, because once again, listen to your gut, listen to your partner's gut. If your partner comes up behind, I don't care if your partner is one of the most fearful people you've ever worked with in your life. If your partner walks up behind you and goes, I don't feel safe. Exit stage left as soon as you can, as safely as you can. Take anybody with you that you can, but once again, just like with any other EMS thing, take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot help anybody else. You can't. Hot rage, bluffing. I put in there that it can easily escalate to violence. It all depends. This is one where you really need to read the room. All right. If this is somebody who plays poker, you're not going to be able to read the room very well. Okay. But you have to be very, very careful. These are the people who really just leave me alone. I don't want anybody to touch me. Autistic people are really good at this one. Autistic people are really good at this one. This is when they have their, what we call their meltdowns, you know, and they just don't touch me, don't talk to me, just leave me alone. They want to be isolated. If you can get them isolated, because that's what they want, work on it. Let's go into the ambulance. The ambulance is really quiet. Nobody's going to be out there. Nobody's going to talk to you. We'll just let you sit in the ambulance where it's nice and quiet. Okay? Let's come over here to the corner. We'll sit and we'll talk. Everybody be nice and quiet. All right? The reason we say escalate to violence is because a lot of times this has to do with mental development. And like I said, autistic people, there are other kinds as well, depending upon what's going on. Dementia patients as well. And I don't know if anybody here has ever been clocked by a dementia patient, but you know, it doesn't take much to go from one, you know, from them just fighting you to them punching you or kicking or biting or scratching or spitting or whatever. So in those cases it can, but if you know going into it, this person is just trying to be left alone, all right, they're bluffing. They don't really want to be angry, they just want to be alone, all right? Work on it. Ladder technique actually works really great with this as well. But the difference is, remember how a couple stages ago we said, you know, keep everything short and sweet, you know, psychotic rage, you want to keep everything nice and short and sweet. In this particular instance, you want a communication. You want them to talk back to you. Give them a lot of those how, what, when questions so they can talk to you and get out some of that emotion, and you can figure out what they want. The more they talk, the easier it is to figure out what they want and what they need and how to work with them and how to lower the energy level. These, I hate. I cannot stand these people. These people love to escalate. They're escalating it themselves, and they're doing it on purpose, and they're doing it for a very specific reason. If they're a sociopath, which there are lots of different levels of sociopath, however, if they're on that level, their goal is to tweak things. These are the pot stirrers, okay? These are the ones, these, oddly enough, are not usually your patient. These are usually the patient's family that arrives on scene after you're there. And you're already starting to de-escalate and they show up and things just blow up. All right? This is where your teamwork with your crew really comes into play because somebody needs to go take care of them while somebody still takes care of the patient. Right? And you need to work together as a crew. Okay? And know who's doing what. If Veronica is doing really, really good with the patient and the uncle comes on scene, what are you doing? I don't know what's going on. Hey, Wendy, can you go take care? I got it. You go over there and you work on that. All right? If you have police on scene, use them. Use them. Because these people, all they want to do is escalate things and make things even worse. And funny enough, now in this new age, they are the people with the phones. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit there and poke with you, and then I'm going to start recording once you've already passed your point. And then I'll look what the EMS people did. Look what the cops did. Okay, be careful of these people because these people, they're easy to identify. They are very hard to extricate from the situation. You need to work with everybody else around you to get them out of the way because they cannot be. And they switch. They can switch quickly. Sometimes it's chemical induced, sometimes it's a mental illness, and sometimes it's just how they are. And they want that. And they're going to, when you know, these are really cool because what's going to happen is they're going to go, you need to leave my niece alone. And that eye contact is not going to break. The second they start that extended eye contact, they're going to go violent. They're going to go violent, and you need to figure out something, get something between you and them, something, okay? Because that's what they're going to switch.
So Wendy, I have a question.
Yeah, ask it. Yep.
With what?
I heard it come from that direction. I thought it was Veronica.
Oh no, it was me.
Okay.
So, in a lot of these rage ones, to me, it seems like it would not be a great idea to separate from your partner, at least not very far.
Right.
Just for backup and safety and all of that, with the realization of, yeah, you're point person, and they like, okay, maybe this individual needs to be with as few people as possible, so you're going to be in the room. I'm going to be just in the doorway or just adjacent so I can still see you, whatever, but I'm not directly involved.
Yep. But
now one of these great pot stirrers show up, and it's just me and my partner.
So what you do...
How do you handle the safety side of it then if you have to split?
Read the room. Read the room, number one. Always stay within, at a minimum, earshot. Earshot.
Ear length away.
Ear length, yeah. Or stay within ear length. Yeah, right? You want to be able to hear. You want to be able to hear what's going on around everything. But this is also where you go, we need to come over here. And while I'm coming over here, as long as this situation's okay, one of you needs to make a 911 call. If you don't already have cops on the scene.
Well, and we're fortunate where a lot of the times
Most
we
of the
do,
time we
or
do.
they're coming, but
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
plenty of
Most
times
the time
where we don't.
But you want to stay at least within earshot so you can hear what's going on. The best is both earshot and insight. Okay, you want to be able to see everything and hear everything that's going on. This is also where you're going to reposition yourself. Okay, you're going to reposition yourself, you're going to reposition the patient. Okay, you two are on the scene, you got the patient, she's got the irritated uncle, right? Reposition yourselves so that you can see each other easily, hear each other easily, turn just slightly to the left. Okay, I can see Veronica over there and I know what's going on. And you kind of got to split your attention. It's hard, and it's hard to keep control of a situation when you're doing that. Hopefully you can get cops on scene or have them there at some point in time to be able to do this. If you don't, once again, if it gets to the point where you don't feel safe, listen to your gut. And if you have to leave the patient, you have to leave the patient. It is not abandonment if you are scared for your safety and you leave your patient, okay? If it is a personal safety issue, it is not abandonment, all right? If you leave your patient for any other reason, it's abandonment. But if your personal safety is at risk, it is not abandonment. You can leave your patient if you have to, okay? Sorry.
I had a question for if the opportunistic manipulator is the parent or guardian, is there a consent issue that we have to now deal with of
Could be,
trying to separate the parent
Absolutely.
guardian from the key
absolutely.
case, but
Could
they're
be.
just making it worse.
And that's also where you have to have cops on scene.
Okay.
And you have to make your best guess of what you can. So this kind of falls into the whole, is the parent competent? Because if the parent is not competent, then you have a right to take care of the minor.
Mm.
But you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful about it. But you're right. It could be one of those types of situations. Use as much logic as you can. Do what you can. Hopefully you have the police involved. If you don't, get them involved some way. I'll be right back. I promise I'll be right back. I just need to go call a hospital and tell them that we're doing what we're doing because they're waiting for us. Make a good plausible explanation. Extricate yourself. Call the cops. Get them on scene as soon as possible. Because the more people you have in that kind of a situation, the more help you have. Sometimes more people is not a good thing, and you want fewer people, but there are situations, once again, use your logic, use your common sense. It's not really common sense, but use what you've got, and your gut, okay? Your safety is primo. Your partner's safety is secondary. Everybody else is after that, all right? Predatory. This one you can't do anything with, all right? This one, you need professionals to help you with this. These can be professional social workers who know what they're doing, dealing with these people. These can be the police that you're dealing with. You are not going to be able to handle these people unless you already have that kind of training. These are the people who are going to come after you because they see you as weak. Basically, you want to make sure that you, Joe brought up something during our break, you want to make sure that you have your radios with you on any scene. Your radio is important. As Joe mentioned, like Adams County, they send out status checks. If you're on scene too long, they're going to send out a status check. If you don't respond, they're trying to find out why you're not responding. So make sure you always, when you're going out on a 911 or pre-hospital anyway, that you've got some way of communication, not just your cell phone. The radio is just a button. You push a button, you got it. Your cell phone, you gotta unlock it. Go down. So, these people, predatory. These people need the authoritarian type person. Now, you're not giving them directions, but you're giving them very set boundaries. You cannot come close to me. You cannot do this. You need to be a very confident type person for these. If you show any weakness whatsoever, they're going to go against you. The only goal we have in this situation is to get out safely. Take whoever we can with us, but get out safely. Because these people, there's usually, they say switch wires or whatever, sociopaths, psychopaths, those types of people. Yes, it is a mental illness, but it is also a very dangerous one. These people don't care. They don't care about you. They don't have morals. They don't care about people around them. They don't care who gets hurt. Themselves, everybody else. They don't care. And there is nothing you can do about that except for to get yourself out of that situation. That's it. Paranoid rage. This is very similar to a lot of the other ones that we're going into the psychotic rage. But convince the subject that you're not part of whatever scenario is going on. We had a guy one time who, we put him in the ambulance. He was a tunnel rat in Vietnam. Put him in the ambulance. He went back to there. Now he has several, he'd been suffering from mental illness since coming back from Vietnam. But we put him in the ambulance and he literally went right back to like he was in Vietnam. You have to convince them that you're not part of that. Whatever it is that he is seeing and hearing and feeling in that situation and in his paranoia, you are not part of that. You are separate from that. And that one's a hard one. That one is a real hard one, but you have to separate yourself from that. I'm Wendy. I'm not VC. I'm not an officer. I'm not in Vietnam. I'm sitting here. You're in Vietnam. I get that. We're going to get you through this. We're going to get you out of this tunnel. We'll get you through this. Okay? Don't lie. Don't lie. Paranoia people will pick up on it. For some reason, they have lie detectors. Violence. This is kind of like the predatory. You're done now. Once your body, once again, I said I'm going to repeat the whole thing. Listen to your gut. Once something has told you that they're now to the violent stage, they're now physically throwing things at you, or you think that they're no longer bluffing and they're going to follow through, get out. This comes back to the self-defense class that I did. If you have to, use that to get out. Don't use it to hurt them any more than you have to. Do what you can to get out. If you have to disable them to get out, do it. A kick to the knee is great. A lot of times, especially as girls, I mean, if you have brothers, you grew up thinking, well, let's just kick them in the groin and, you know, we'll be done with it. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with adult men, they've been living with that most of their life, they're gonna protect that. That is not a good thing to go for. Go for the knee. Go for the knee. It will disable them and you can get away, right? Try to talk your way out of it. If you can't talk your way out of it, try to fight your way out of it, because once they hit violence, you're done. Your job there is done until the cops come in and it's no longer violent. And now you get to treat everybody who was part of that. Questions, concerns, snide comments? All are welcome. Too many people for Coco. Too many people for Coco. He doesn't have as much patience as she does. That's why he's here. So, anything?
I was just gonna touch on the,
Absolutely.
I've realized my personal experience when dealing with like parents that he was asking in regards that are kind of being, you know, like SI children and parents don't really want to send them. I've learned that medical control works out pretty good. Like hearing a doctor say, hey, I think it's a good idea, usually kind of triggers the parents to be like, okay, maybe this is good, instead of a ambulance driver telling them.
Absolutely, absolutely. This falls into one of my biggest pet peeves. By a lot of the public, we're not seen as healthcare. We're seen as public safety. We're not seen as healthcare. Public doesn't know what we do in a lot of cases, okay? They don't know that we have a lot of medical training. So, very good suggestion. If you've got a parent that's inserting and there's not an underlying issue, it's like not the drunk uncle showing up on stage, you know, it's a concerned parent or a parent who's in denial, get medical control on it. Yes?
That works really good when you have the parent who's a nurse. Just let you know, call med control and say, I'm gonna have you talk to the doctor, because they're used
Absolutely.
to taking that command from a doctor.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a good thing.
That is a great one for read the room. Read the room, know who you've got. Now, some parents are in such complete denial, even talking to the doctor's not gonna help. And sometimes we just have to walk away. And it breaks your heart every time you do it, but that is some of the situation. We get that with child abuse, we get that with pediatric SI, we get that with domestic violence of any kind, we get a lot of that. Unfortunately, all we can do is when we are done, we can report it, okay? That is our job, we are mandatory reporters. Don't do it there on scene, don't be punitive, don't tell them, I'm gonna go tell on you, I'm gonna go tell the social workers and get CPS involved.
CC's Pizza.
Right? So don't be punitive, but when you're done, we are mandatory reporters. So if you see something like that, elderly, please also include elder abuse in that. At some point in time in the future, I would really like to bring up different things of how to identify abuse, and elder abuse is a big one. We see it a lot in our community, a lot. Okay, we see it in nursing homes, we see it in private homes, we even see it in the hospitals. I unfortunately, just in the past year, have had to turn in 2 people at the nursing home for seeing actual physical violence against patients by the staff.
I think I was with you for one.
Yes, you were. So, just know we are mandatory reporters. It doesn't matter where we see it, all right? We need to do that. And I believe we even have a class online for that.
We have multiple mandatory reporting trainings available online.
Yeah. So watch those, look at those. They're very important. Very important. Any other questions, concerns, snide comments? Everything's welcome.
All right. And go. Want to talk to me? What are you doing here? What do you want?
We were called to the scene. We came to check out.
I don't know if I want you here right now. I really don't.
I understand that,
I know.
but we got called. We're here to help. We're trying to assess the scene.
How do you think you're gonna help me?
Well, what do you want us to do?
I don't know. I feel like right now I just want to punch something, which I might actually want to punch you if you're not gonna be able to help me.
No, but I told you I'm here to help. So what would you like me to do?
I don't know yet. I can't figure it out.
Okay, why don't you think on that, and how about I see the
Think
patient?
on that. Isn't that why you're here? Aren't you supposed to be helping me?
Here
Isabella, I'm your partner. So what can we do?
So Sam here, she's kind of not feeling the situation. She's a little confused. She doesn't really know if she wants our help or not.
All right.
I don't know if I'm confused. I feel like I'm pretty good.
Yeah, confused? You know what's going on?
Yeah, maybe.
So, did you call us?
I think my wife called you.
Your wife called us,
Yeah.
all right. Is your wife here?
think she's in the other room.
She's in the room.
Yeah.
All right.
She's pretty mad at me right now.
All right. So what do you think is going on? What happened? Why did she call us?
You know, I might have thrown a couple things, you know, threatened to do some stuff, but I mean, I'm not.
What happened
probably-
before that?
We got in a fight, you know. I said I wanted potatoes, she said she wanted french fries. Yeah, so, you know, typical spousal arguments.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
so,
So you think we can sit down and talk about it?
definitely, yeah,
Awesome.
probably, yeah.
All right. All right. So,
Pretty good.
it takes, and like I said, just 3 or 4 minutes is absolute that we need.
I'm in
so.
high school and I know everything, just to let you know, so that's who
Well,
I
you got half that, right?
am. So I'm 16, 17, somewhere in there, and I know everything.
Man, the casting was perfect.
It really was.
I should be a director. I mean, seriously. And action.
Hey, this is EMS. Hi, my name's Connor.
Don't worry, I already know.
You already know?
Yeah, hi Connor.
All right, nice to meet you. What's
You got
your
a badge
name?
on, that's how I know.
I do got a badge
Yeah,
on.
I do.
It's zippy. It's really fun.
So,
Can you tell me what your name is?
why?
Because I gotta know it.
It
We're
doesn't
introducing
matter.
each
It
other
does
right
not
now.
matter. It doesn't
All
matter
right.
what my name is because there's nothing you can do for me anyways because nobody fucking cares.
All right, man. I need to know your name. Let's have a little bit
I'm
of a
not a
conversation.
man. I'm not that old. I'm still in high
I said
school.
I said man, but I use that gender neutral. So.
Excuse me. All right, bro.
All right. Feeling that you're feeling a little frustrated
Yeah,
right now,
frustrated,
okay?
whatever. You know, my mom, I can't even stand her right now. Do you know what she did to me? She took my cell phone. Who the hell does that?
Man, I'm sorry.
No,
man.
no,
I'm
you're
sorry.
not. No, you're not
Hey.
sorry. Go get my phone then.
Hey, man.
I want my phone.
I am
want my
really
phone.
sorry.
No, I want my phone.
All right, that's between you and your mom. We
I
can go talk
understand
to her
that,
as well.
but you're here to help me? Go help me. Go get my phone.
I'm here to
No.
help you, but I'm here to make
Nope.
sure that you're safe first. All right?
Obviously I'm safe because there's nobody else here.
All right, let's work on this here, okay?
Um,
Step one. Can you tell me your name?
You should already know. My mom already talked to you.
Now, I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to you. I don't care what she says. I'm here to talk to you, okay?
Why? Because she's the one that's going to make all my decisions anyways. She already did. She called you.
That's not what we're here for. We're here to talk to you and listen to what you have to say in your side of the story.
I already told you I want my phone.
I know you
I
want
want
your
my
phone,
phone.
man.
There's nothing else to talk about. I
You
just
gotta
want
tell
my
me your
phone.
name first, and then we can talk about the phone, okay?
Whatever. My name's Veronica.
Veronica. All right. Veronica, you're pissed off, okay? I can understand that. I can see that.
Can you really? Did your mom take your phone too today?
Now, what I get in here,
Whatever.
if it's okay with you,
Why don't you call the cops? Tell them that she took my property. I want my property back. That's my phone.
is it okay if we go sit in another room away from your mom? We just talk this out, you and me? Is that okay?
I mean, I guess if she says it's okay, but
Alright.
it's not going to really matter much.
Let's change the scene. Let's go into a different room. If you can, sit down. Is that all right with you?
No, I don't want to sit down. I've been sitting all day.
That's all right, man. You do you, all right?
Yeah,
Now.
you call me a man.
I said man again,
I'm
Veronica.
not a man.
The dude.
Connor.
Good.
I don't think we were two that were
Okay,
the bestest
number
combo
one.
here.
This
You
is
been
going
around
well.
with twins lately? Because this was literally our conversation 2 days ago.
I just want to know that was my daughter in our conversation at one point.
I've totally had this patient before. Come on, dude. Shut the fuck up.
All right. So, feedback.
You said I understand.
Yeah, I caught myself after I did it.
It's hard.
It's so ingrained.
It
Yep.
is so hard. It is hard. All right.
Should have used your name instead of calling her man.
You did.
Damn.
It's true.
Yep.
Hand gestures. Just kind of, I don't know, it's really hard. I
It
talk
is.
with my hands too.
It is.
Always talk with my hands.
Keep in control of
Use that
yourself.
superpower pose.
Super pie.
Veronica.
But honestly, the hand on the chest thing wasn't necessarily aggressive.
Not
though.
aggressive.
Bear
No.
That was
That's
almost
good.
like I'm trying to
Always.
understand your empathy,
For-
like an
for a lot
empathy.
of
Also controlling
If
himself.
we're trying to de-escalate, a power pose may not necessarily be the one we want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's showing authority, and I'm going to tell you what to do. However, relax your arms. This one is a careful one. You got to be careful because what she was, what did Veronica want? Veronica wanted to be listened to. She wanted to be heard, right? If you go like this,
Oh,
that is
Not up high.
Nope,
right,
not
Don't.
here.
right, but that's a closed stance. You only want to do closed stance. Do this, but relaxed. Relaxed. You need to be in control. Joe.
I can tell you guys will work together.
I think we have been almost on this exact same call before.
Perhaps
even though she already knows everything, perhaps introduce as to why you were called there.
Sure.
And see if she sees that as the same problem or why she feels we're here. Get her, try and draw input from her as to what's going on.
Mhm.
Probably won't get anywhere, but at least it's in the town.
Something.
So, case in point, that if we would have got, if that question would have came up, it would have been like, do you know why we were called?
Mhm.
And I said, I know everything, and then follow up with the, well, your mom called us because she found out from a friend that you were stating that you wanted to harm yourself.
Okay.
And then with that being said, that's why the phone was taken away.
That was in my script that I was given. yeah,
Not the phone away, but like what Joe said, then I.
It gives you something to work with.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because then that would have been a whole other situation besides I want my phone. I would have, backtracked.
Okay.
Well, then you can throw safety in there versus just,
Mhm.
oh, it's the phone, and is this really
Right.
an EMS issue?
Right, Sam?
There was one point where Veronica had said, like, do you even know what my mom did? And at that point, you were down the rabbit hole of, like, what's your name? Tell me your name.
Sure.
And I feel like that would have been a really good avenue of, like, no, I don't know what your mom did. Why don't you tell me?
Sure.
And I think that could have escalated things to getting your information that you wanted.
You were switching between a couple different strategies, which can be helpful, but kind of off of Sam's as well. I think for, like, to the starting point of the name, like you're saying, I think that went a little far, but I also like how you're like, this one isn't working, let's go to this one. Or like, okay, now let's try to change the environment. Let's try this step, let's try that step, let's whatever. So just try to play it until it finally started to, oh yeah, I guess we could go another room. So in that case, that was a really good thing of try different options until something is starting to work.
When I heard her mention or indicate that she was angry toward her mom, I might have used that to negotiate with her a bit.
Mhm.
So I might have said something along the lines of, well, your mom is just one side of the story. I'd like to hear your side too. And then she knows she's going to get heard. And she also knows I'm not going to automatically believe everything that mom said.
He did talk
And so
about that.
Did he do something
Yeah.
like
I did
that?
try to do
Yeah,
that.
well, that's
started on that path
her
just
side of it.
initially.
I want to talk to you. I'm here for you. I don't fully care what her perspective is.
Kids must
You're the
know.
person we care about, kind of thing.
Cheat yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of agree with what she was saying, that the whole switching around until you
Yeah.
found what worked. I think that was a good job, and I think once you kind of started getting answers, you were able to kind of start being like, okay, let's go to a different room. You started
Mhm.
using her name more, so I think you're eventually gonna get to that point of de-escalating it with more time. So
Okay. And anybody guess what they were? What situation they're dealing with?
Secret lovers.
I feel like we need the list up on the screen because I don't remember them off the top of my head.
We can do that.
is it a rage still?
It was a rage. It was fury.
It was fury, and
Just
literally the comment where it says 0 fucks to give,
Yeah.
that's exactly what that was.
and when someone's in a fury, it means that they were attempting to get something, attempting to do something, and they were stopped by something that they feel was wronged them. And now they no longer care. Now they're just pissed. And they want whatever it was that it was. And so he did a couple of things. He did, the whole let's remove ourselves from the situation. Distraction would have been great, especially high school person.
Sure.
High school person, try to get off the whole thing of the phone. It was good though. He kept using, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Repetition. It gets their attention. So not a bad thing. Great, cool. I'm done unless somebody else wants to do a scenario.